Camille Bennett had never imagined her wedding day would feel more like a funeral than a celebration. Standing quietly in the grand cathedral, dressed in an elegant gown that felt entirely foreign against her simple, humble upbringing, she could feel the weight of hundreds of curious, judgmental eyes fixed directly upon her. Whispers rippled steadily through the crowded pews, guests leaning close to murmur quietly among themselves. "Can you believe he's marrying her?" One woman whispered, barely bothering to lower her voice. "She's nothing special, just an ordinary girl from a family drowning in debt." Camille kept her eyes forward, forcing herself to remain calm despite the humiliation burning steadily within her chest. She understood clearly why people mocked this unlikely union. Alessandro Rinaldi was one of the most powerful, feared men in the entire city, while she was simply the daughter of a small business owner who had foolishly borrowed money from dangerous people years earlier. Her father, desperate and drowning in debt, had approached Alessandro's organization seeking financial help after his small hardware store faced collapse. Alessandro had agreed to settle the debt entirely, under one condition: Camille would marry him, securing an alliance beneficial to both families involved. Camille had reluctantly agreed, understanding clearly the desperate necessity behind her father's request. Despite her own fear and uncertainty regarding marrying a man she barely knew, a man whose reputation for ruthlessness preceded him significantly. As she walked slowly down the aisle, Camille caught sight of Alessandro standing calmly at the altar, dressed impeccably, his expression unreadable yet strikingly handsome, despite his intimidating reputation. Something about his calm, steady gaze offered Camille a strange, unexpected sense of reassurance amid the humiliating whispers surrounding her. The ceremony proceeded quickly, formal and precise, devoid of any genuine warmth or celebration. Camille could feel curious, judgmental stares intensifying as she recited her vows quietly, her voice steady despite her nervousness. Following the ceremony, the reception continued with polite yet clearly insincere congratulations from Alessandro's associates and extended family, many of whom made no effort to hide their skepticism and quiet disdain toward Camille. She overheard hushed conversations throughout the evening, comments questioning why Alessandro, a man capable of marrying anyone he desired, had chosen someone so ordinary and unremarkable. Camille endured the evening with quiet dignity, refusing to let the humiliating whispers visibly affect her, though privately, she felt increasingly overwhelmed and isolated amid the unfamiliar, intimidating world she had suddenly entered. As the reception concluded, Alessandro escorted Camille quietly toward the luxurious estate that would now become her new home. The drive was tense, uncomfortable silence settling heavily between them, neither quite certain how to address the awkwardness of their unconventional, arranged union. Finally arriving at the grand estate, Alessandro guided Camille inside quietly, his expression thoughtful yet unreadable. As they entered the bedroom prepared specifically for their wedding night, tension thickened noticeably, Camille unsure exactly what to expect from her intimidating new husband. To her surprise, however, Alessandro's demeanor shifted unexpectedly once they were alone, his usual guarded coldness replaced by something gentler, more considerate. "Camille," he said quietly, his tone unexpectedly warm, "I understand the situation isn't what either of us imagined for our lives." Camille studied him cautiously, uncertain how to respond to his unexpected gentleness. "No," she admitted honestly, "it certainly isn't." Alessandro nodded thoughtfully, sincerity evident clearly in his gaze. "I want you to know," he continued carefully, "that despite the circumstances surrounding our marriage, I have no intention of forcing anything upon you that you're not comfortable with." Camille's eyes widened slightly, surprised by his unexpected consideration. "I appreciate that," she said softly, relief evident clearly in her tone. Alessandro gestured gently toward a comfortable sitting area near the bedroom's large window. "Perhaps we could simply talk," he suggested calmly. "Get to know each other properly, rather than rushing into intimacy neither of us feels ready for." Camille felt herself relax slightly, genuine gratitude emerging within her at a surprisingly thoughtful gesture. "I'd like that," she admitted, a small, cautious smile forming on her lips. They spent their wedding night quietly conversing, sharing personal stories, hopes, and concerns, slowly building an unexpected yet genuine connection neither had anticipated from their initially forced circumstances. Camille found herself surprised by Alessandro's genuine warmth, patience, and evident respect, qualities completely contrary to the cold, ruthless reputation she had expected. As dawn approached, exhaustion finally overtaking their quiet conversation, Alessandro gently reassured her once more. "Whatever people believe about our marriage," he said softly, "know that I intend to treat you with the respect and kindness you deserve, Camille." Camille nodded, genuine warmth and gratitude evident clearly in her tired yet content expression. "Thank you, Alessandro," she replied softly. "I didn't expect this kind of understanding, given everything people have said." Alessandro's expression grew thoughtful, seriousness evident briefly beneath his gentle demeanor. "People often judge quickly, without fully understanding the truth," he said quietly. "I hope, in time, they'll see clearly what I already recognize in you." As their unexpected wedding night concluded peacefully, neither Camille nor Alessandro fully realized how significantly this quiet, unexpected understanding between them would soon challenge the assumptions and judgments of everyone around them, setting the stage for a relationship far deeper and more meaningful than either had ever anticipated. In the weeks following their wedding, Camille slowly settled into her new life within Alessandro's grand estate, though the adjustment proved challenging amid the unfamiliar luxury and constant scrutiny from Alessandro's extended family and associates. Despite the awkward circumstances surrounding their marriage, Camille found herself continuously surprised by Alessandro's genuine thoughtfulness and patience. Each morning, Alessandro made a point of personally checking on Camille's comfort before departing for his demanding business responsibilities. "Is there anything you need today?" he would ask sincerely, genuine concern evident clearly in his tone. Camille, still adjusting to such a tender consideration, found herself gradually more comfortable expressing her needs and preferences honestly. "I'd like to explore the gardens today," she admitted one morning, appreciation evident in her voice. "They're beautiful, and I haven't had much chance to enjoy them yet." Alessandro smiled warmly, genuine happiness evident in his expression. "Of course," he replied. "I'll ensure the staff assists you with anything you might need." Despite Alessandro's genuine kindness, Camille continued facing subtle yet persistent scrutiny from his family members, particularly from his cousin, Vittoria, a sharp, ambitious woman who made no secret of her disapproval regarding Camille's unexpected role within the family. "I simply don't understand Alessandro's decision," Vittoria remarked coldly during a family gathering, her voice carrying just enough for Camille to overhear clearly. "Surely he could have chosen someone more suitable, more accustomed to our way of life." Camille felt the familiar sting of humiliation, though she forced herself to remain composed, refusing to let Vittoria's cutting remarks visibly affect her. Alessandro, overhearing the comment, quickly intervened, his tone firm and protective. "Vittoria," he said calmly yet decisively, "Camille is my wife, and she deserves the same respect as anyone else within this family." Vittoria's expression tightened slightly, clearly displeased by Alessandro's firm defense, though she quickly masked her irritation with a forced smile. "Of course, Alessandro," she replied smoothly, though resentment lingered evident beneath her calm exterior. Later that evening, alone together in their private quarters, Camille expressed her gratitude for Alessandro's protective intervention. "Thank you for defending me earlier," she said softly. "I know it's not easy, given how everyone seems to judge our marriage." Alessandro studied her thoughtfully, sincerity evident clearly in his gaze. "You don't deserve their judgment, Camille," he reassured her firmly. "I chose you because I recognize genuine qualities in you, qualities far more valuable than superficial status or wealth." Camille blushed slightly, touched deeply by sincere reassurance. "I appreciate your kindness truly," she admitted honestly. "It's more than I expected, given the circumstances that brought us together." Alessandro's expression softened further, genuine warmth evident clearly in his gaze. "I've come to realize," he said quietly, "that genuine happiness isn't something found through wealth or status, but through authentic connection and mutual respect." Their relationship continued deepening steadily over subsequent weeks, Camille gradually gaining confidence and comfort within her unfamiliar new life, supported consistently by Alessandro's genuine care and attentiveness. Despite ongoing scrutiny from Vittoria and other skeptical family members, Camille found herself increasingly respected by Alessandro's closest associates, who slowly recognized her genuine warmth, intelligence, and quiet strength. One afternoon, while assisting Alessandro's trusted advisor, Marco, with organizing charitable community initiatives, Camille demonstrated a natural talent for diplomacy and genuine compassion, quickly earning respect and admiration from those she interacted with directly. "You have a natural gift for connecting with people," Marco commented warmly, clearly impressed by Camille's genuine kindness and diplomatic skill. Alessandro made an excellent choice. Camille smiled genuinely, appreciation evident clearly in her expression. "Thank you, Marco," she replied sincerely. "I'm simply trying to contribute positively, given the opportunity I've been given." Word of Camille's genuine warmth and effectiveness slowly spread throughout Alessandro's organization, gradually shifting skeptical perceptions among those who had initially mocked her unexpected marriage to Alessandro. Yet, despite this positive shift, Vittoria's resentment only intensified, her jealousy and ambition quietly festering beneath her calm, composed exterior. One evening, Vittoria approached Alessandro privately, her tone carefully measured yet clearly calculated. "Alessandro," she began cautiously, "I understand your loyalty to Camille, but surely you recognize the risks involved in allowing someone so inexperienced to represent our family's interests so publicly." Alessandro studied his cousin carefully, skepticism evident clearly in his expression. "Camille has proven herself capable and genuine," he replied firmly. "Her efforts have only strengthened our family's reputation within the community." Vittoria's expression tightened slightly, clearly displeased by Alessandro's continued support for Camille. "Perhaps," she said carefully, masking her irritation once again behind composed smile. "I simply want what's best for our family's future." Alessandro nodded thoughtfully, though clear skepticism remained evident in his gaze. "I appreciate your concern, Vittoria," he replied calmly, "but my decision regarding Camille remains firm." As Vittoria left the conversation, quiet resentment and calculated determination evident clearly beneath her composed exterior, neither Alessandro nor Camille yet realized the depth of jealousy and ambition quietly festering within Vittoria, setting the stage for a dangerous and complicated conflict that would soon threaten the genuine happiness and trust they had carefully built together. 2 years before Camille's wedding day, her father, Harold Bennett, had faced the collapse of his small hardware store, a business he had spent decades building carefully from nothing. Struggling desperately to keep the store afloat amid rising costs and declining sales, Harold made a decision that would unknowingly change his family's future entirely. Desperate for quick financial relief, Harold borrowed money from a dangerous, unofficial lender connected loosely to organized crime, unaware initially of the serious risks involved. Within months, the debt grew rapidly beyond his ability to repay, the lender's associates growing increasingly aggressive in their demands. Frightened and desperate, Harold sought help quietly, eventually reaching out to a trusted family friend Alessandro, Rinaldi's organization, known throughout the city for occasionally settling dangerous debts in exchange for future loyalty or alliance. What Camille never realized, however, was that Alessandro had personally intervened long before their arranged marriage was ever proposed. Recognizing Harold's genuine desperation and honest intentions, Alessandro quietly resolved the dangerous debt directly, ensuring Harold's safety without initially demanding anything significant in return. "Consider this debt settled," Alessandro had told Harold privately at the time, his tone calm yet firm. "I understand desperate circumstances can lead good people into difficult situations." Harold, overwhelmed with gratitude and relief, had insisted on repaying Alessandro's kindness somehow, unaware initially that Alessandro harbored no immediate expectations beyond simple goodwill. It was only later, after observing Harold's genuine honesty and hard-working nature, that Alessandro considered the possibility of strengthening ties between their families through a formal marriage alliance, primarily to protect Harold's family from future exploitation by other criminal organizations. Alessandro had never intended the marriage arrangement to seem transactional or forced upon Camille, without genuine consideration for her well-being. Rather, he saw it as an opportunity to offer genuine protection and stability to a family he had grown quietly to respect and admire. Unaware of these earlier events, Camille had always believed her father's debt remained unresolved until marriage arrangement was proposed, unaware entirely of Alessandro's earlier, quiet intervention on her family's behalf. This misunderstanding had initially fueled her belief that she had been essentially sold into marriage purely for business convenience, rather than genuine care or protection. One quiet afternoon, while organizing old family documents at her father's home, Camille discovered a personal letter Harold had written but never sent, addressed directly to Alessandro, expressing heartfelt gratitude for his earlier assistance. Confused and curious, Camille approached her father directly, holding the letter carefully. "Dad," she asked gently, "what is this?" "You never mentioned Alessandro helped us before our marriage was even arranged." Harold looked up, surprised and slightly embarrassed, realizing clearly his daughter had discovered the truth he had unintentionally kept hidden. "Camille," he said softly, "Alessandro settled our family's debt long before he ever proposed marriage. He never asked for anything in return initially." Camille felt a wave of shock and confusion wash over her, realization dawning slowly as she processed this new information. "Then why did he propose a marriage at all?" she asked, uncertainty evident clearly in her voice. Harold considered his answer carefully before responding honestly. "I believe he genuinely wanted to protect our family long-term, Camille," he explained gently. "The marriage wasn't simply about business advantage. It was about ensuring our safety and stability permanently." Camille sat quietly, processing the significant revelation deeply, her earlier assumptions about the transactional nature of her marriage shifting dramatically. She realized clearly now that Alessandro's genuine kindness and consideration hadn't merely begun after their wedding, but had existed long before, quietly shaping the circumstances that eventually brought them together. That evening, Camille confronted Alessandro directly, holding her father's letter carefully as she entered his private study. "Alessandro," she said softly, "I found this letter. Why didn't you ever tell me you helped my family before our marriage was even arranged?" Alessandro looked up, clear surprise and slight embarrassment evident briefly in his expression. "I didn't want you to feel indebted or obligated," he admitted honestly. "I wanted our marriage, however unconventional its origins, to develop naturally, based on genuine mutual respect rather than obligation." Camille studied him carefully, deep appreciation and understanding evident clearly in her gaze. "Thank you for honesty now," she said softly. "Knowing this changes everything about how I understand our relationship." Alessandro nodded gently, sincerity evident clearly in his expression. "I hope it helps you understand clearly," he said quietly, "that my feelings toward you have always been genuine, regardless of the complicated circumstances that initially brought us together." Camille felt her heart soften considerably, genuine warmth and affection deepening steadily within her toward the man she had originally believed to be nothing more than a calculated, distant business partner. "I appreciate you sharing this truth with me," she said sincerely. "It means more than you probably realize." As their conversation deepened further that evening, Camille and Alessandro's genuine connection grew steadily stronger, unaware clearly that Vittoria's jealousy and ambition were quietly evolving into something far more dangerous, threatening soon to disrupt the genuine happiness and understanding they had carefully built together. Vittoria Rinaldi had always believed she deserved a position of greater influence within the family's organization, harboring quiet ambitions of marrying Alessandro herself long before Camille ever entered the picture. Watching Camille steadily earn genuine respect and admiration throughout the family only intensified Vittoria's simmering resentment, pushing her steadily toward more calculated and dangerous actions. She began quietly gathering information, searching carefully for any potential weakness or vulnerability she could exploit to undermine Camille's growing standing within the family. Her opportunity arrived unexpectedly one afternoon, during a large charity gala Camille had organized personally to support struggling local families. The event had been carefully planned, showcasing Camille's genuine compassion and organizational skill, further strengthening her reputation among Alessandro's associates and the broader community. Vittoria, however, saw the gala as the perfect opportunity to publicly embarrass Camille, hoping to expose her as inexperienced and unsuitable for her elevated role within the family. During the event, Vittoria approached several influential guests quietly, subtly planting doubts about Camille's genuine intentions. "It's admirable, isn't it?" she remarked casually to a group of guests. "How quickly someone from such humble beginnings has adapted to our world." though I do wonder if her charitable efforts are simply calculated to gain favor and status. The guests exchanged uncertain glances, clearly influenced subtly by Vittoria's carefully placed doubts. Camille, unaware initially of Vittoria's subtle manipulation, continued warmly greeting guests and overseeing the event's success, unaware of the quiet doubts beginning to spread among certain attendees. Later that evening, Marco, Alessandro's trusted advisor, quietly approached Camille, concern evident clearly in his expression. "Camille," he said carefully, "I think you should know some guests have been expressing doubts about your intentions tonight." Camille's expression shifted quickly to concern and confusion. "Doubts? What kind of doubts?" she asked anxiously. Marco hesitated slightly before explaining honestly. "Vittoria has been suggesting your charitable efforts might simply be calculated attempts to gain favor within the family," he admitted carefully. Camille felt a wave of hurt and frustration wash over her, though she quickly composed herself, determined not to let Vittoria's manipulation affect her publicly. "Thank you for telling me, Marco," she said firmly. "I'll address this directly." Later that evening, Camille approached Alessandro privately, explaining clearly what she had learned about Vittoria's subtle manipulation. Alessandro's expression hardened instantly, anger evident clearly beneath his controlled exterior. "This ends now," Alessandro said firmly. "Vittoria has crossed a serious line, deliberately attempting to undermine your reputation and genuine efforts." Camille nodded, though concern remained evident in her voice. "I don't want to cause unnecessary conflict within your family, Alessandro," she said carefully. "But I also won't allow her to continue spreading false doubts about my intentions." Alessandro studied her thoughtfully, admiration and determination evident clearly in his gaze. "You won't have to," he reassured her firmly. "I'll address Vittoria directly, making clear that her actions won't be tolerated." The following day, Alessandro confronted Vittoria privately, his tone cold and controlled despite the anger simmering clearly beneath the surface. "Vittoria," he said firmly, "I'm aware of the doubts you've been quietly spreading about Camille's intentions." Vittoria's expression tightened slightly, clearly caught off guard by Alessandro's direct confrontation. "I was simply expressing genuine concern," she replied carefully, attempting to maintain her composed facade. "Your concern crossed into deliberate manipulation," Alessandro replied sharply. "I won't tolerate further attempts to undermine Camille's reputation or our family's unity." Vittoria hesitated, clearly recognizing the seriousness of Alessandro's warning, though resentment and jealousy remained evident beneath her forced calm. "Understood, Alessandro," she said quietly, though clear insincerity lingered in her tone. Despite Alessandro's firm warning, Vittoria's jealousy and ambition continued festering privately, her resentment deepening steadily as she witnessed Camille's continued success and growing respect within the family. Determined not to accept defeat easily, Vittoria began quietly considering more drastic measures to remove Camille from her position entirely. Unbeknownst to Alessandro and Camille, Vittoria began secretly reaching out to contacts outside the family, seeking potential allies who might assist her in undermining Camille more directly and dangerously. Her ambition, fueled deeply by jealousy and resentment, slowly evolved into something far more calculated and threatening than mere social manipulation. As tension quietly simmered beneath the surface of the family's outward unity, Camille and Alessandro remained unaware of the serious danger steadily approaching, unaware that Vittoria's wounded pride and unchecked ambition would soon escalate into a threat far more significant and dangerous than either of them could have anticipated. Weeks passed quietly following Alessandro's firm warning to Vittoria, the family's outward tension appearing to settle as Camille continued strengthening her reputation through genuine kindness and effective community initiatives. Beneath this fragile calm, however, Vittoria's resentment had grown into something far more dangerous, her secret alliances outside the family quietly solidifying into a calculated plan. Vittoria had reached out carefully to a rival family, the Costas, who harbored their own long-standing grievances against Alessandro's organization. Recognizing an opportunity to weaken Alessandro from within, the Costas agreed cautiously to assist Vittoria, provided her plan could genuinely destabilize Alessandro's leadership and reputation. "If Camille's family becomes vulnerable," Vittoria explained carefully during a secretive meeting with Costa representatives, Alessandro will be forced into an impossible situation, choosing between protecting his family's business interests or protecting Camille personally. The Costa representatives listened carefully, calculating the potential benefits of exploiting this internal family conflict. "And what exactly do you propose?" one representative asked cautiously. Vittoria's expression hardened with calculated determination. "Camille's father, Harold, still runs a small hardware store," she explained. "If we create financial troubles again, forcing him back into desperate circumstances, Alessandro will have no choice but to intervene personally, exposing vulnerabilities we can then exploit." The Costa representatives agreed cautiously, recognizing potential value in destabilizing Alessandro's carefully built reputation and family unity. Over the following days, they began quietly manipulating Harold's business dealings, creating unexpected financial pressures and complications that threatened once again to destroy his hardware store completely. Harold, confused and anxious about these sudden new financial troubles, reached out quickly to Camille, uncertain about the unexpected resurgence of dangerous debt collectors demanding immediate payment. "Camille," he said anxiously during a phone call, "I don't understand what's happening. These aggressive men have suddenly reappeared, demanding money I don't have." Camille immediately alerted Alessandro, panic and concern evident clearly in her voice. "Alessandro, my father's facing serious financial threats again," she explained urgently. "I don't understand how this happened so suddenly." Alessandro's expression grew serious and alert instantly, recognizing quickly the suspicious nature of these renewed threats. "This isn't a coincidence," he said firmly. "Someone deliberately orchestrated this situation." Quickly mobilizing his resources, Alessandro discovered swiftly that the renewed threats against Harold were directly connected to the rival Costa family, immediately suspecting internal involvement given the specific and calculated nature of the attack. Confronting his own security team directly, Alessandro soon uncovered evidence clearly implicating Vittoria in secretly orchestrating the dangerous situation. Furious and betrayed, Alessandro confronted Vittoria directly, his anger barely controlled beneath his cold, calculated demeanor. "You've endangered Camille's family deliberately, working directly with our rivals," he said coldly. "How could you betray our family so completely?" Vittoria, cornered and desperate, finally revealed her true motivations openly. "I deserve this position, Alessandro," she said bitterly. "Not some ordinary woman with nothing to offer our family beyond charity work and empty gestures." Alessandro's expression hardened further, disappointment and anger evident clearly in his gaze. "Camille has shown more genuine strength, kindness, and integrity than you've ever demonstrated," he replied firmly. "Your jealousy has led you to betray everything our family stands for." Vittoria, realizing clearly the severity of her situation, attempted one final desperate gamble. "If you choose her over family loyalty," she warned coldly, "the Costas won't stop here. They'll continue targeting Camille's family until you're forced to make an impossible choice." Alessandro's resolve hardened instantly, determination evident clearly in his controlled response. "Then I'll ensure they understand clearly the consequences of continuing this reckless conflict," he said firmly. "Camille and her family remain under my absolute protection, regardless of your betrayal or the Costas' threats." Immediately mobilizing his most trusted men, Alessandro moved swiftly and decisively to neutralize the danger, confronting the Costa representatives directly and making unmistakably clear the serious consequences of continuing their reckless alliance with Vittoria. Simultaneously, Alessandro ensured Harold's safety completely, resolving to manufacture financial threats swiftly and permanently, while publicly and decisively removing Vittoria from any further involvement within the family's affairs, exposing her betrayal openly to the rest of the family. Camille, relieved yet shaken by the danger her family had faced, expressed heartfelt gratitude toward Alessandro's decisive intervention. "Thank you for protecting my family, Alessandro," she said softly, emotion evident clearly in her voice. "I didn't realize how deeply Vittoria's resentment had grown." Alessandro held her gently, sincerity and reassurance evident clearly in his expression. "I promise to protect you and your family, Camille," he said firmly. "And I intend to keep that promise completely, regardless of the obstacles or betrayals we face." As the immediate danger finally passed, Camille and Alessandro understood clearly that their bond had been tested significantly, yet had ultimately grown even stronger through the challenges they had faced together, setting the stage clearly for a final, decisive resolution to fully secure their happiness and safety moving forward. In the weeks following Vittoria's exposed betrayal and removal from the family's affairs, life within Alessandro's estate slowly settled into a calmer, more genuine rhythm. Word of Vittoria's attempted manipulation and reckless alliance with the Costa family spread quietly throughout the organization, and rather than damaging Camille's reputation as Vittoria had intended, it accomplished the opposite entirely. Those who had once questioned Camille's place within the family now recognized clearly the genuine strength, dignity, and resilience she had shown throughout the ordeal. Even the guests who had whispered doubts at her wedding began approaching her with newfound respect and admiration. At a family gathering held shortly after the conflict was resolved, Marco addressed the matter openly. Camille's calm strength during this entire situation speaks volumes about her character, he said sincerely to the gathered relatives and associates. She's proven herself far more capable and genuine than anyone gave her credit for initially. Several guests nodded in agreement. Genuine warmth and admiration, replacing the skepticism that had once surrounded Camille's unexpected marriage. Even Harold, who had worried constantly about the danger his daughter faced, felt reassured watching her stand confidently among people who now genuinely respected her. "I'm proud of you, Camille," Harold said warmly during a quiet moment together. "You've handled everything with more grace and strength than I could have imagined." Camille smiled, gratitude and quiet pride evident clearly in her expression. "Thank you, Dad," she replied softly. "I couldn't have done it without Alessandro's support and protection." That evening, Alessandro arranged a special, intimate dinner for just the two of them, wanted to celebrate quietly the resilience and strength Camille had shown throughout the recent challenges. Sitting together at a beautifully set table overlooking the estate's peaceful gardens, Alessandro reflected thoughtfully on everything that had transpired since their wedding day. "When we first married," he said softly, "I worried our arrangement, however well-intentioned, might never develop into something genuine. But watching you handle everything with such strength and grace has shown me clearly how wrong those initial doubts were." Camille studied him warmly, genuine happiness evident clearly in her expression. "I never expected to find genuine happiness in an arranged marriage," she admitted honestly. "But somehow, despite everything, I found exactly that with you, Alessandro." Alessandro reached gently for her hand, sincerity and warmth evident clearly in his gaze. "I'm grateful every day that circumstances brought us together, Camille," he said softly. "Regardless of how unconventional or difficult our beginning was, I wouldn't change anything now." Camille smiled softly, contentment settling deeply within her heart. "Neither would I," she replied genuinely. "Every challenge we've faced together has only strengthened what we have." As their intimate dinner continued warmly, Camille reflected quietly on how far she had come since that humiliating wedding day, when she felt like nothing more than an outsider forced unwillingly into an unfamiliar, intimidating world. Now, she stood confidently as Alessandro's genuine partner, respected and admired by those who had once doubted her completely. Months later, at another grand event hosted by Alessandro's family, Camille stood proudly beside her husband, greeted warmly by guests who had once mocked her openly at her own wedding. The skepticism and judgment she had once endured had transformed entirely into genuine respect and admiration, a transformation earned through her own resilience, kindness, and unwavering strength. As the evening concluded warmly, Alessandro turned to Camille, genuine love and admiration evident clearly in his gaze. "You've proven everyone wrong, Camille," he said softly, pride evident clearly in his tone. "You've shown this entire family exactly what true strength and genuine character look like." Camille smiled warmly, happiness and gratitude evident clearly in her own expression. "We've proven it together," she replied gently, her voice filled with genuine warmth and affection. As they stood together, surrounded by guests who now genuinely respected and admired them both, Camille and Alessandro understood clearly that their unconventional journey, filled with unexpected challenges and genuine growth, had ultimately led them exactly where they were always meant to be, together, deeply in love, and finally free from the judgment and doubt that had once surrounded their unlikely, yet genuinely meaningful union.